Ridiculous gas prices. But is relief coming soon? Maybe. I hope so. I heard something yesterday. If you kind of look at all the clues from this China trip, the Beijing trip with President Trump talking to Xi wants to make a deal. It's all about oil. I'm convinced now. We'll get into that. But you like me? Got gas last night. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to stop at 10 gallons. I don't want to go over, you're paying attention to this and that. And it's also, much more likely to stay inside. Hey, should we go out tonight? And you're thinking about the gas prices. Maybe we should just kind of stay in. We all do it. And gas prices are one of those infuriating things. It just is, because it's just so complicated. It's one of the few things in our consumer lives that seems to make no sense whatsoever. It's like it doesn't seem to follow the laws of supply and demand. You'll be driving down the street. Well, that one gas station, that one there, same brand, is 30 cents higher. What? It seems to make no sense. That's why it's so infuriating. And you're not alone. But something happened yesterday at this China trip, because we've heard all the different things and all the pageantry and everything else. It's the Iran war, and it's all something very key happened, and it's all about oil prices. And I think, and it's all a gamble, right? I think it means good news. We'll get into all that. Happy weekend, by the way. Right about the time when you're making weekend driving plans. It's all a gamble, especially with Memorial Day coming up. You going to cancel your trip because you think gas prices are still going to be high or not? It's a question we all face. All right, thanks for finding Wicked Radio, the live stream, podcast, and the replay on X and YouTube and on Facebook, audio podcast too, wherever you like to download those. Let's get right to it with this Beijing trip. I haven't talked a whole lot about this, except the day before yesterday with the Chinese spies. I said at the time, I really hope Trump brings that up with Xi Jinping. With all the other world issues, can you get, in front of him and say, can you stop inserting spies into American politics like that lady in California? But regardless, how was he received? This is from when they first arrived a day and a half ago. How did this all go for the president? Wow. A band, a red carpet, literally jumping children up and down. So it wasn't exactly the doom and gloom that we've also heard, because, God, there is so much propaganda and misdirection in our news sources. Perfect example of this. Melissa Slotkin, one of the now new designated liars from the Democrats, went on, what's that show on CNBC? Squawk Box or something, whatever. She was on there yesterday talking about the trip. Now, compare what you just heard and saw with President Trump's reaction and the greeting and the welcome with Beijing and how he was treated, with what she's saying and the narrative that they're trying to press over here. He's going there to beg China's help to end the Iran war.
At this point, we're going in a little bit on our heels because the Strait of Hormuz, the Persian Gulf, isn't open. And now, I'm hearing a lot of things around Washington that the president is going to have to ask the Chinese for their help resolving what's going on.
Help's great. We all love help, right? But how about that? And it's always the same thing. I'm hearing, the unnamed sources reportedly Trump is going to beg for help. Well, let's go to the man himself, because he talked to Hannity last night. And I got to say this. I know a lot of you may not like Hannity, right? He may not be your cup of tea. I get that. I understand that. That's fine. I happen to like him myself. But you got to understand something if you want to try to figure out what's going on, to read the tea leaves, as I always say, and understand where Trump is coming from. It's not important that you or I like Hannity. Trump loves him, loves him. The two interviewers that Trump loves the most, it's clear now, are Maria Bartiromo, I think he's in love with her, and Sean Hannity. That's where he's the most relaxed, I think, and he trusts them the most, so he's the most revealing. So, sits down with Hannity in China. Hannity was on the trip. He was on Air Force One, and he said something about that. Okay, as it relates, and this is all we've heard so far. This is all about the war. This is all about Iran. This is all about China. Okay, what did Trump say himself? Not the U.S. propaganda.
Be much more patient. No, I'm not. They should make a deal. Any sane person would make a deal, but they might be crazy.
All right, more.
That's a great promo, actually, that they put together for Hannity. They might be crazy, Sean. They might be kooky dukes, nuts, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, Sean. They're crazy. Does that sound like a guy, as opposed to what you heard Melissa Slotkin say, that is begging on his hands and knees for help from China to deal with Iran? Not quite, but he elaborated, and he said, we'll help. All help is appreciated.
President Xi would like to see a deal made. He would like to see a deal made. And he did offer, he said, if I can be of any help at all, I would like to be of help.
He did say that.
Yeah, he did say that. And look, anybody that buys that much oil has obviously got some kind of a relationship with him.
Sure, absolutely. And that's a little hint of what we're really going to get into today, the moral of our story. But that's all we've heard so much so far, right? And I'm not trying to discount it at all, but what have we heard so far from the China trip? Great talks, great meeting, we're getting along, red carpet, all that good stuff, and China's offering to help with Iran to end this conflict. That's great. I'm not discounting it. That's awesome. Then yesterday, everything really became revealing because Trump was talking about it himself. I was doing some work around the house, and I have Fox on in the background, and I'm trying to just get some information. And I heard this, and I'm wondering if you heard it too. And I had to literally grab my remote, rewind it, and listen to it again because everything became clear about what this trip is about. And maybe, depending if you like to gamble or not, what's coming up for gas prices.
Xi expressed interest in purchasing more American oil to reduce China's dependence on the strait in the future. That's a really...
What? Huh? I'm sorry? Grab my remote. Repeat it again.
Xi expressed interest in purchasing more American oil to reduce China's dependence on the strait in the future. That's a really big takeaway. So
it's the takeaway. Now you know what this is about. Of course it's about ending. Of course we're going to you kind of have to go there, right? And I'm sure this is what Trump is thinking. You have to go there and trying to allay China's fears about this. No, it's not going to drag on. No, we're not begging for help. We're telling you what's going to happen. Guys, isn't it clear? Isn't it clear now what this is about? Look, Strait of Hormuz is going to be wide open worldwide in the world markets, right? We are ready for business. We would really like you to buy from us. We're more reliable, and we're very, very close, in fact. We're closer when you're talking about Alaska to China than Iran is. We would like to make a business deal, and that's what this is all about, isn't it? Yes, it is. So, again, if you don't like Hannity, you got to suffer through it, but this is what he told Hannity about that very same thing.
They get a lot of their oil, 40% of their oil from that location. So what has happened, and one thing I think that we're going to make a deal on, they've agreed they want to buy oil from the United States. They're going to go to Texas. We're going to start sending Chinese ships to Texas and to Louisiana and to Alaska. And I think that was another thing that was agreed to. That's a big thing.
What about liquefied natural gas?
It's not that much longer.
Gas too?
Yeah, everything. Energy.
Energy.
That's the one thing. They really need energy. That's the one thing. They have an insatiable appetite for energy, and we have unlimited energy. Do you know, we've now under me, but we now produce more than if you combine Saudi Arabia and before the war, if you took Saudi Arabia, Russia, put them together, we're doing twice as much.
We have all kinds of oil, and we'd like to have you buy from us. Isn't that really, truly what this is all about? I mean, why does China roll out the red carpet? Official statement is it's reciprocity for you inviting Xi Jinping to Washington in 2017. Sure, I'm sure it's a nice thing. International relations, it's all big. Why now? We'd really like to listen. After Epic Fury, we'd really like to have you come here and figure out our oil situation. Doesn't that make sense that that's what China is saying? Because it all seems to be revealed yesterday. Yesterday was a big news story, very quietly under this. This is what this is all about. And it may be great news for all of us. But we got to answer the question, right? Because we've all asked it. I'm there with you. It's like, why? Okay, why? How does this affect us and if we have all this oil, if we have all of this energy? Why are our gas prices going so high? And the answer is this, really. We don't buy, and this is another thing that's been incorrectly said in the U.S. media by you-know-who, the lamestream media. We don't buy any oil from Iran. We haven't for years. The gas prices are high because it's a world market thing. So in other words, the stock market bets on the world oil supply. So if that's down, like the Strait of Hormuz, sure, that actually happens. They would bet on those prices, a limited supply, so the prices go up. So even your local yokel gas station is affected by that because the price of oil overall with limited supply goes up, even though we're like flush with oil and gas in this country. That's why it seems to make no sense. That's why it seems to not follow the laws of supply and demand. But you keep on going. Now tie all this together with what Trump was saying, what you heard the reporters saying, what they were specifically saying in that interview with Hannity, and he's saying, it's not going to be long. It's not going to be long at all. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, has been saying this for now months. It's going to be short-term pain for long-term gain. That he's actually gone so far as his latest interviews, he's saying that China is choking on oil. Iran is choking on oil they have so much. They can't sell it. And once this strait is completely open, and they're saying that that's pretty much done now, oil prices are going to drop. So it comes down to what? A gamble, right? Here's another thing. Listen to this.
Say to the American consumer that help is on the way. You have it in mind.
Help is on the way as of today. The way to think about it is the market, because of the conflict around the strait, is in deficit about 10 million barrels a day, between 8 and 10 million barrels a day right now. So every crude carrier that goes through has about 2 million barrels. So 4 or 5 crude carriers a day coming through of the pent-up demand. We think there are more than 150, 200 crude carriers that can come out. So I think the market's going to be very well supplied. The other thing...
One thing for sure. That guy, Bessent, has not flip-flopped on this at all. He said at the very beginning, it might have been the first day of Epic Fury, he said, honestly, this will affect world oil prices, which will affect us. But he said it again, and that's where I got that term from him. As far as this story goes, short-term pain, long-term gain. He's been consistently saying that all along. When they did have a ceasefire, remember what happened before Iran got rambunctious again? When they did have a ceasefire, all of a sudden the gas prices were dropping. They did. Doesn't that tell us? Isn't that a sign and a clue that when this thing is over, I think it may be okay, but it's a gamble. Again, let's just go back to Trump saying this. Not exactly begging on his hands and knees for help from China. Do you hear this and think it's going to last long?
Much more patient. No, I'm not. They should make a deal. Any sane person would make a deal.
I'm not going to be patient. They're crazy. They're crazy, Sean. So who knows? I don't know how long this is going to last, but it all comes down to a gamble, doesn't it? So if you took all of this together with all of the reports saying that this is, I heard it a ton from Trump himself even, and then all the reports and tie that into what Scott Bessent has said, with China looking for an oil supplier for their energy needs. We're right here. Doesn't it make sense that's why he's in China right now? Doesn't that make sense? Isn't that the number one priority? Of course there's a bunch of other issues. To get a chance to sit down with Xi Jinping? Of course there's all kinds of stuff. Apparently, reportedly, they also made a deal to tell China to stop pushing fentanyl across our shores, killing Americans. Yeah, that's kind of big. Let's not pretend that they're not some kind of adversary, because they are. It's always been about China. So, of course, work out a deal on fentanyl, fantastic. Work out other trade deals. Stop stealing our intellectual property, fantastic. But isn't the priority and the most important thing right now what China and us, what we want to get done on a deal and to come to the table on? Isn't it oil if we become their number one oil supplier? And, of course, once this deal will be struck, of course you know exactly what the message is going to be. You can't trust it. Trump, listen, I can predict the headlines now on CNN. Trump caves to China. It'll be, you know what? It'll be this. Our gas prices will go down in maybe like 3-4 weeks. This will be the CNN headline. Trump caves to China and gives our gas away. Couldn't you just see it? I don't know. All I know is, and here's the big takeaway, to listen to what's actually going on, you got to kind of put the pieces together. I know you don't want to dig through all the interviews. That's why I'm here for you. I'll ferret through all this stuff for you. You don't want to listen to all the interviews with everything going on. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, not the most exciting interview. I understand it, but it's important what he's saying, and he's been consistent now for over a month. Has it been 5 weeks? It's going to be short-term pain for long-term gain, let alone the fact that we're going to prevent Iran from having a nuclear weapon. But the China trip, this is about oil. So it's a gamble. Let's take a look at Memorial Day and your travel plans. Are you going to look at this and say, no, we're not going to be able to drive anywhere. No, forget about these gas. We'll go broke. We won't have any spending money when we get to Orlando, let's say, because we're just going to spend too much on gas. Or you're just going to say, it looks like relief is on the way. And with the first ceasefire, we saw gas prices dip down a little bit until Iran went crazy again. So that's what it is. It's a gamble. But I'm just telling you how I feel. It looks like things are moving in the right direction. But that's just me. Who knows? And by the way, with all the complaints about high gas prices, and they are high, it sucks. I mean, last night when I got gas at $4.25, I felt grateful. They actually went down like, what is it, 10 cents or something like that. I'm filling my car up. I said, I'm just such a sucker. Honest to God, it's like I feel grateful for paying $4.25 a gallon. And I know other states in California is ridiculous. I'm pretty sure on average overall it's over $5, which is insane. And I totally get that. But despite all of these gas prices, I don't see a lot less traffic on the road. Do you, where you live? I don't see a lot of people, all of a sudden deciding to work from home because of $4.25 or whatever a gallon. I haven't seen it. So that kind of tends to tell me Memorial Day traffic coming up will be once again record-breaking despite that, which once again tells me I'm not alone. I think most people are thinking that a deal will be made. That's what this China trip's all about. So, but who knows? We can't predict the future. You can just take the evidence of what we've seen so far with this trip and guess the future. It's a guess. That's all it is. But I think things are going to be good. Maybe just me. I don't know. Most importantly, it's Friday. Speaking of weekends and driving and all that good stuff, have a great weekend. I appreciate you so much. A little programming note. A lot of you have found the audio podcast and have downloaded or subscribed or whatever that is. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Just to let you know, it's on Apple Podcasts. Obviously, like iHeart and the big ones there. My podcast platform is called Spreaker, and it's on Spotify and all. Basically, wherever you find Wicked Radio with me, you can find it there. So thank you so much for doing that. And then live on the live stream, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, usually around 8, unless I'm late. You know how that goes. But the replay is always there at your leisure on X and YouTube and Facebook. It's Friday. We made it. Let's hope these gas prices go down. But again, read the tea leaves and what came out of that China trip yesterday. May be good stuff. I don't know. I won't have to cancel Memorial Day quite yet. Have a wicked awesome weekend. I'll talk to you later.